The Troy Murphy Show, driving you home Thursday nights from 6 p.m.
Brace yourself, ladies and gentlemen, them, they and all, for a long rant because the court of public opinion is in session. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle need to stop. Yep, I'm on that side of the fence, and I know for certain that I am not alone. No siree. And I believe that the majority of the court of public opinion agrees with me, and here's why. Actually, to be honest, I don't even really know where to begin with this topic because so much has happened in just 1 week, and it's all a flow-on from previous salacious scandals and inconsistent contradictions. This week, well, I guess if we go all the way back, it all started with Prince Harry, or is it the former Prince Harry? Because, you know, he bowed out of his royal duties. No, this week, let's talk about this week. He released a book. It's called Spare. And he's done a whole series of TV interviews as part of the media campaign accompanying the release. Now, I'm not going to read this book. I've read some excerpts that have been released. You know, I'm time poor. If I'm going to read a book, I'm going to read a book that I want to read. This I don't really want to read, especially when I found out what's in it. I think I've probably found out all the juicy bits anyway, which I'm going to talk about today on the show. Now, prior to the book release, there was the Netflix documentary, you know, with the, I guess a lot of people hate-watched it, but a lot of people were hook, lined, and sinkered. Gullible people were hook, lined, and sinkered into believing their hype and victimhood. I can't get over the fact that the majority of things that they accuse their family of doing, the royal family, the institution of doing, they do themselves in their own way. You've just got to look at it and critically analyze how they word things and then what they do to realize that they play the same game. And worse, they play the victim card. You know, and did you watch the document? I hate watch the documentary, and when I saw them play the victim card when they were going to get stuck in Canada at the beginning of COVID and had to be rescued by a friend who owns a private jet that flew to them, picked them up and flew them to live in a mansion in Hollywood or wherever they ended up. And people I saw online fall for that "oh, woe is me" act. Seriously, people, do we not remember the news during COVID? Do we not remember the horrible tales of human atrocities that people face for months and months and months on end? You know, people across the seas in China having their doors glued shut so they couldn't leave. The pregnant woman in Melbourne who was arrested for making a Facebook post, whether you agree or not with her post and what she said, it was still a pregnant woman being arrested for something she said on Facebook. And something more gruesome than that is not being discussed at any great length, and I blame the government for covering this up and their COVID findings up, as recently reported in the ABC. We're not talking about the mental health aspect of COVID. Or the effect of COVID on people's mental health. I know more people who have committed suicide because of lockdowns than died of COVID. But that's another story. Back to Prince Harry and Meghan. As we were all expected to feel sorry for them as they flew on a private jet with all that space, with their dogs on board, with a whole family, to go live in a mansion in Hollywood. I assume it was Hollywood. Give me a break. What's going on? How are people so gullible to fall that? Oh, poor Harry and Meghan, they had to fly on a private jet to escape Canada. Which, from memory of the documentary, they were living on an island in Canada, and they were complaining about paparazzi in boats going around and taking photos, and the footage that accompanied that, and I think it was mobile phone footage, so, you know, it could have been filmed at any time. It was just one boat going past. Oh, the pressure! Oh, the pressure! Give me a break. The doco, this book, and the Prince Harry interviews have just become a slinging match of entitled brattism and contradiction. Point in case, there was one part of one of Prince Harry's recent interviews where he was asked to address the allegations he and Meghan Markle had made about the royal family being racist. Now, this is an excerpt from an interview with Tom Brady for ITV, where the Prince said this.
In the Oprah interview, you accuse members of your family of racism. You don't even...
No, we didn't.
Well,
The British press said that.
right.
Did Meghan ever mention that they were racist?
She said there were troubling comments about
There
his
was
skin
concern
colour.
about his skin colour.
Right. Wouldn't you describe that as essentially racist?
I wouldn't, not having lived within that family.
Right.
So
You
again,
don't
going back to the
Yeah.
difference between what my understanding is, because
Okay.
of my own experience, the difference between racism and unconscious bias, the two things are different. But once it's been acknowledged or pointed out to you as an individual or as an institution that you have unconscious bias, you therefore have an opportunity to learn and grow from that in order so that you are part of the solution rather than part of the problem. Otherwise, unconscious bias then moves into the category of racism.
Now, before I talk about the blatant contradiction of that U-turn that he pulled in the interview, let's go back and take a listen to the Oprah interview for what was being referred to and what was said there.
You certainly must have had some conversations with Harry about it and have your own suspicions as to why they didn't want to make Archie a prince. What are those thoughts? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because of his race?
In those months when I was pregnant, all around this same time, so we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security, he's not going to be given a title, and also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
And let's talk facts, not feeling, because that's what this is all about, feeling. Let's talk the facts. Let's not forget about the award they received and accepted in person, which validates the reason why they were giving it. You remember the award, the Ripple of Hope Award, the one they won for, well, according to the website, it says exemplary leaders across government, business, advocacy, and entertainment who have demonstrated an unwavering commitment to social change and work to protect the advance equality, justice, and human rights. That's what the award is. What a name. But it's the same award that was given to them by Kerry Kennedy, the daughter of Robert F. Kennedy, who thanked the couple for showing up and explained that they were receiving the recognition because they spoke out against racism within the royal family. That's on record. That award that they received for speaking out against racism in the royal family. But no, according to Harry in his latest interview in the U-turn, the award for speaking out against racism within the royal family, that's not racism. That's just unconscious bias. Pick a lane, mate. Pick a lane. Talk about backtracking while you're trying to rewrite history to make yourself look like the good guy and still play the victim card at the same time. Let's talk about another contradiction in the book in where he states his brother struck him.
Meg's difficult, he said. Oh, really? She's rude. She's abrasive. She's alienated half the staff. Not the first time he'd parroted the press narrative.
He wanted me to hit him back, but I chose not to. But again, so much of the relationship between me and William and the way that it played out was because of the narrative or the distorted narrative that was being pushed through the British press and some people within his office that were feeding him utter nonsense.
In the book, it has been revealed that after the fight, he went straight to his therapist. In the book, The Spare, Harry writes, and I quote, "I apologise for the intrusion, I told her. I didn't know who else to call. I told her I had a fight with Willie. He knocked me to the floor. I looked down and told her that my shirt was ripped, my necklace was broken. That's what he said to his therapist straight after the fight with his brother. Here's the contradiction. Around the same timeline as all this, as stated in the Oprah interview, Meghan Markle said that she was told she couldn't get help from a therapist despite having suicidal thoughts. Markle recalled to Winfrey in the interview, and I quote, "I was told I couldn't, that it wouldn't be good for the institution." That's going to see a therapist for suicidal thoughts. But Harry seems to have a therapist that he can call on a whim. But Meghan wasn't allowed to because that would look bad for the, and I quote, institution. Look, I don't want to speak out against anyone's mental struggles, but I find these two admissions in contradiction of each other. Why didn't Harry just give his number for his therapist to Meghan and not tell the firm? Another one of my problems with the book, The Spare, is that Prince Harry is airing way too much personal, dirty laundry, which is problematic for the royal family that many around the world love. The problem I have with it is that it's one-sided. And he knows that his brother and his father and the institution, the royal family, will not respond to give their side. So he gets away with the world knowing his version of the truth. And if we know anything, there's always two versions of the truth. I also take aim to what he said at the British media. Now, of course, I will preference this by saying the British media are no saints when it comes to the royal family and the history of reporting on the royal family and how they treat the royal family. But here he is publishing stories in a book about the royal family that the media, respectful media, wouldn't dare publish should they have the information, especially private conversations between senior members of families. Royal correspondents would not do that. Respectful royal correspondents would not do that. Yet he still calls them out for all that they have done. Again, another blatant and blind contradiction. There are so many things in the book that are just too much information. TMI, too much information. Who thought, this is outrageous, who thought it was a good idea to publicly write about losing their virginity as a royal, as a public figure? Some things you don't need to know about, especially when you go into detail about losing your virginity behind a pub to an older woman who said, or who he says, treated him like a stallion. Or his drug taking and hallucinations talking to a bin. He even revealed in the book that his brother is circumcised. Too much information coming from a senior member of the royal family about other members of the royal family, or just in general. I don't want to know that stuff. No one needs to know that stuff. Unless, you're a close friend and we're having a laugh about how we lost our virginity. That's the only kind of people you talk to about issues of that, or hallucinations, or taking drugs. You don't publish it for the world to know. Uncouth, not cool. My biggest question is, why has he done this? Why do so much damage to your own reputation and to your family's reputation, especially a public reputation? On one hand, he says that he still believes in the monarchy and hopes that he can one day return to the fold, and he holds the door open for discussions of reconciliation. And on the other hand, he does this, and he expects, them to give him a cuddle and tell him all is fine. If my brother did this to me, I would never, ever speak to him again. not spoken to one of my brothers for far less for a long time. Hey, but that's family. Clearly, you know, it's all for the cash splash, and he doesn't care who he hurts on the way through. He is damaging his cause. And it's evident because in a recent public opinion poll in the UK, only two-thirds of British people dislike him. That's gone up. He used to be number one, favourite royal. Now two-thirds dislike him. The damage has been done now. And that's also clearly evident with those who oppose the monarchy. Here in Australia, oh gosh, Republic pusher and the former leader of the Labor Party, Bill Shorten, has taken a swipe at the royal family and issued a message. Oh, this is just despicable. He issued a message of support for Prince Harry. And in the same breath, he called for Australia to become a republic. This here is a contradiction itself and a classic Labor moralistic behaviourist high road card that they play. You know, they do the whole, oh, poor Harry, you know, poor Harry, and he's abused and all the struggles he goes through. And then they use that to push an agenda. It's like, look at the hand while the other hand does something else. Let's have a listen to what Shorty said.
But at another level, this is just family gossip, and it reminds me that this family are the head of state of Australia. So it really, I think, puts a question mark around our governance structures, where we've got a sort of feuding family on the other side of the world who seem to really not like each other at the moment very much. But they're actually people, technically, the head of Australia. So at one level it's gossip, it's scintillating. At another level it's a shame to see a family bust up. But perhaps at the deepest level, why do we still need to keep borrowing a dysfunctional British family to be the head of state of Australia?
Talk about using someone else's pain to push your own agenda. This is deceptive and despicable. If he really cared about Harry and wanted to show his support and jump on the moralistic bandwagon high road, he'd push for the support for the family to heal and repair and for them to accept Harry and Meghan back and for all to be roses and glitter. Don't use current drama to push years of failing at pushing for Australia to become a republic. That's his agenda. It's his agenda for years. He's always wanted for Australia to become a republic, and it's like he's gone, there's a little segue here. I can loosely link the two, and I'll jump in front of a camera and I'll do it. You can tell in Bill's voice there's hesitation in there, and you don't need to be one of those people who analyzes voices or understands human behavior to hear this hesitation, to understand that he doesn't believe in the tripe of the segue that he's spewing out here, you know, using the royal family feuding as a reason for Australia to become a republic. He doesn't believe it. He can't believe it. Deep down, he can't. He's playing politics and he's failing at it. Much like the election he lost. Look, at the end of the day, and I know this is a very long segment, and I could keep going on more and more about this because there has been that much published about this week. But at the end of the day, we are oversaturated with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and I kind of hope it goes away. Well, I won't lie. In one sense, I like that it's here because I get to giggle and laugh and talk about it on the show. But on the other side, I hope it goes away because of the reputation of not only Prince Harry and Meghan Markle being ruined, but the royal family and the institution it too. Maybe, here's an idea, maybe the book should, or maybe the follow-up book should be called Spare Us All, Please.
The Troy Murphy Show.